have you ever thought of a company's balance sheet as a kind of detective novel? I mean, sure, it looks like a boring list of numbers, but if you know where to look, it's actually packed with clues. Clues about a company's past, its present, and even its future. Today, we're going to put on our analyst hats and learn how to decode that story.
So that's the big question, right? We all see the assets, the liabilities, the equity. But what's the real narrative hidden between those lines? What's the story they're trying to tell us? Well, that is exactly what we are here to figure out.
Okay, let's break this down. You've got your income statement that tells you about performance. You've got your cash flow statement that shows you liquidity, the cash coming in and out. But the balance sheet, that's different. It captures judgment. It shows you the choices management has made, how they fund their growth, how aggressively they play the game, and ultimately how durable the business actually is.
So, where does any good investigation start? You look for the early warning signs. These are the little clues, the subtle hints that pop up on the balance sheet long before any bad news makes it to the income statement or, into the headlines.
Here's our first big clue. Accounts receivable, that's just the money your customers owe you. It should really grow in lockstep with your sales. But when you see that number start to grow way faster than your revenue, that's a warning sign. It often means a company is getting desperate, offering super generous or risky payment terms just to get a sale on the books.
And this isn't just theory. Take the classic case of General Electric. For years, their revenue looked pretty stable. But any detective looking at their balance sheet would have seen something fishy. Their receivables were growing much faster than their revenue. What was happening? Well, GE was basically propping up its sales numbers by letting customers take longer to pay. The balance sheet was practically screaming that their ability to collect cold, hard cash was getting weaker by the year.
And this brings us to an absolutely critical mantra for any analyst. You got to remember this. Revenue that you can't actually collect isn't growth. It's just risk that you're kicking down the road. It's an IOU that you might never ever get paid back on.
Okay, our second clue is hiding out in the warehouse. Now, rising inventory can be a great thing if demand is through the roof. But if it's just piling up and at the same time your profit margins are flat or even falling, whoa, that is a huge danger sign. It's basically a massive bet on future sales that just isn't paying off.
Just look at what happened with Target a little while back. Their inventory just exploded, way faster than their revenue, because customer taste shifted almost overnight. Anyone who was watching the balance sheet could see this mountain of stuff piling up and could have predicted exactly what happened next: huge markdowns, crushed profit margins. The problem was visible on the balance sheet long before the company ever had to cut its guidance.
So the takeaway here is pretty simple. When you see those inventory levels climbing, but the margins aren't keeping up, it is a very powerful signal that future profits are about to take a serious hit. All those unsold products, they eventually have to get sold, and usually at a big discount.
All right, this one's a real head-scratcher, and it's a massive red flag. Imagine this. A company is reporting profits year after year, but its shareholders' equity, its net worth, is actually going down. How on earth is that possible? Well, usually, the culprit is debt. The company is borrowing money to buy back its own stock.
I mean, this was the exact situation at Boeing for a while. On paper, they were posting profits, but the balance sheet told a completely different story. Their equity was shrinking while their debt was piling up, all to fund stock buybacks. This completely eroded their financial foundation, leaving them with basically no shock absorber for when a crisis inevitably hit.
And here's the bottom line. Real, sustainable profits should make a company stronger. They should build up its foundation. If the profits you see on the income statement aren't actually increasing the company's net worth, well, then those profits are probably pretty fragile.
But hey, being a good detective isn't just about finding all the bad stuff. It's also about uncovering the hidden strengths, right? The signs of resilience and true value that other people might just gloss over.
You know, it's funny, sometimes the strongest companies are the ones that look the most, kind of boring on paper. They use what's called conservative accounting, which basically means they intentionally understate the value of their assets. It sounds counterintuitive, but it creates this huge hidden margin of safety.
Apple is the absolute master of this. Think about it. All that money they spend on R&D, it's expensed immediately, not treated as an asset. Their brand, one of the most valuable in the entire world, has a value of 0 on the balance sheet. This approach means their reported assets dramatically understate their true economic power.
Now, let's talk about a term that sounds bad but can be incredibly good: deferred revenue.
Okay, it's listed as a liability because technically you owe a customer a product or a service, but think about what it really is. It's cash you've already collected for work you haven't even done yet. It's basically an interest-free loan from your own customers. How cool is that?
Just look at Costco. All that deferred revenue they have from membership fees, that's not a scary liability. It's the core of their brilliant business model. It's the cash that funds their entire operation. This is why you've got to look past the accounting label and understand the economic reality of what's going on.
Okay, let's get into a more advanced part of our investigation, working capital. This is where things can get really tricky because the numbers can be incredibly misleading if you don't have the context behind them.
Let's talk about the classic cautionary tale of Sears. For the longest time, on paper, they had positive working capital. Their current assets were bigger than their current liabilities. Seems safe, right? But the reality was that the biggest asset was a bunch of outdated inventory nobody wanted. Its real value, what you could actually sell it for, was just a tiny fraction of what it said on the books. Liquidity isn't about the accounting number. It's about what your stuff is actually worth.
And on the flip side, you have negative working capital, which can be a sign of incredible strength or incredible weakness. It's all about how you get there. For a company like Amazon, it's a weapon. You pay them instantly with your credit card, and they take their time paying their suppliers. It's a huge structural advantage. But for a weaker company, it might just mean they're not paying their bills on time, and that's totally unsustainable. So we've gathered all these individual clues, the red flags, the hidden strengths. The final step for any good detective is to put it all together and see the complete picture. A great analyst never ever relies on just a single clue. You've got to build the mosaic. You look at receivables growing way faster than revenue. Okay, that's one piece. Then you see inventory piling up while margins are getting squeezed. That's another piece that fits. Then you see all this happening while the company's net worth is shrinking despite so-called profits. Now you've got a complete picture of a fragile company. It's all about connecting the dots.
You know, the deep insights we've been digging into today come from a really fantastic article. It's called How to Read a Balance Sheet Like an Analyst, and you can find it over at saveinvestcompound.com. It is a fantastic resource if you want to go even deeper on this stuff.
And let's just end with this one powerful thought. The income statement tells you what just happened. The balance sheet, it tells you what's about to happen. The story of a company's future is hiding right there, in plain sight, for any detective who's willing to look.